Hey y'all, it's your sis Lisa. As you can tell from the title of this video, we got a lot to talk about, so let's get to it. I'm 29 years old and I just found out that I have breast cancer, and there is no way I would be getting through this without my faith in God. This video is for anyone who may have found out they are in a situation similar to this. I'll be so honest, I looked on YouTube for videos of people who were talking about their experience just candidly, and I couldn't really find anything that spoke to me. So I wanted to be that, hopefully, for someone else who may be going through this, who may have just gotten diagnosed, who's figuring it out, whatever that looks like. And also, my faith has been both proven, grown, and challenged in the time period of knowing this. So I just wanted to share my journey and hopefully encourage somebody else's faith. And if you're going through this, girl, we here. Boy, we're here. It's not just about women. You know what I'm saying? This happens to everyone. It is mostly a woman thing, but it happens to a lot of people. So let's talk about it some more. I have a little list in front of me. I have my laptop because I wanted to stay on some kind of track. But we're just going to let the Holy Spirit move and we're just going to talk. So also, this is going to be very personal and intimate. So if you're not ready for all that, use the chapters below to govern yourself accordingly, I guess. But it's all going to be very personal and intimate, so that God can get the full glory and so that I can really relate to somebody who may be going through something similar. So in October of 2023, it was October or November. I didn't write it down because it didn't seem like a big deal at the time. But I was ending my period and I was experiencing nipple discharge, which is just like, I'm going to be real. Sometimes I'll be medical, but most of the time I'm just going to be talking. My nipple was leaking and I was like, what's really good? It was on the left side. And I said, actually both sides were doing it. I was like, what is that? I've never experienced that. And so I looked it up. I Googled it. We know Dr. Google. So I Googled it and it said around your period, sometimes you can experience nipple discharge. And I was like, okay, that's fine. Not really worried about that. And I actually had called my mom and I was like, Mom, is this happening to me? Has this what's going on? She was like, oh yeah, some women experience that. So no big deal. Then it kind of continues. And at first it was like milky. So it was like, when you get pregnant and you produce milk, it was giving that. And so it wasn't like a problem to me. But then sometimes it'd be like red or pink. And I didn't want to call it blood, but I'm pretty sure that's what it was. And I was like, this doesn't seem right. And it would go on and off every so often. It wasn't just around my period. And I was like, something's off here. So I had a physical on December 5th of 2023. And my doctor ordered a, what did she order? An ultrasound, breast ultrasound, bilateral breast ultrasound, which is just ultrasound of both your boobs. So I was like, okay, cool. I'll go do that when I have time. And also something to note here is that my employment situation was a little shaky. In August of 2023, I had lost my job. So by the time December came, I had like some kind of health insurance and I was working, but it wasn't giving like I'm making a good amount of money. I wasn't even getting health insurance from my job that I had. So I was just like, my employment was shaky. My money was shaky. I was like, I don't know how much it's going to cost to go get this ultrasound done. I'm just not going to do it. So fast forward to September of 2024. Y'all, I waited a year. God's faithfulness is the only thing that kept me through that year, because the more I go into the story, you're gonna be like, girl, if you had not, maybe this would be different. And I beat myself up about that at first. So I had a friend tell me, she was like, you cannot beat yourself up about that. We are where we are. But this is a note that if something like this is happening to you and your doctor says, go get an ultrasound, go ahead and get that ultrasound, babe. Just do it. Because when I tell you, the internet told me that it was probably just an intraductal papilloma, which is just a mass around your ducts of your breast, like of your nipple. And I was like, okay, cool. That's not urgent. That's not bad. And it said in the most like out there cases, it could be breast cancer. It's not funny, but like, here she is. So on September 10th, I had the first ultrasound. They were like, let's look at this. And so obviously your girl starts to get nervous because what? I thought and then there's still like, it's an intraductal papilloma. Nothing's really, it'll be fine. We'll just drain it or whatever, but let's make sure that's what it is first. So on September 24th, I had my first ultrasound biopsy. What I wasn't prepared for was like all of it. Like, so they stick a needle in you, they give you a light mammogram, you're out. At that point, I had never had a mammogram in my life. So I was like, what is going on to me? Also, something to note, no one has seen my boobs before, for real. Like, no one. So this is a lot of chest out, showing everybody what I got. And that felt very personal and not fun for me at first. But it was what had to be done to make sure I was healthy. So it was very uncomfortable for me. But everybody was great. I want to stress that, like, the nurses, everybody, like the doctors I've worked with, everyone is really great. But that doesn't really change the fact that, like, you are a human going through this. And it's a lot. So September 24th, first ultrasound biopsy. On September 26th, so literally 2 days later, I get a call from the doctor. It is 10:30 a.m. I'm at work. I work at a front desk, basically managing a community. And I get a call and I step away to take it. And she tells me that there are cancer cells. And I'm like, what does that mean? Like, it didn't compute. And I was like, is there a way you can email me like the next steps? Because I just don't think I'm hearing you right now. And I don't think I'm going to remember. She was like, I'm going to advise you to write everything down. We can't send an email. So as you get more calls and as you go through this process, make sure you're writing things down. I'm like, okay. So I write down what she's telling me. And I go to sit back at the desk. And it doesn't hit me. And I'm like, I should tell somebody. Like, I shouldn't just sit here by myself. So I tried to call my mom and she didn't answer. I called my dad. And I just started sobbing. Obviously. Because I have cancer. And what? Like, I never thought that would be my story, and I never thought that would even be what was happening to me. So my dad, I think it was a good thing that he was the first person I told and the first voice I heard, because he's very calm, and he was just like, we're going to get through this. I was going to try not to cry in this video. Unrealistic. He was just like, we're going to get through this. And I think the most important thing for me in that moment was to know it's a we. Like, I am so thankful and so blessed to have family and friends who are like, oh, we're doing this. Like, this is not just a you thing. We are doing this. So I was so blessed and so thankful for that. And then eventually my mom was like, call me, because I think my dad had told her. And I don't know if I could have handled telling my mom, so I'm glad he did. And she was just like, what are the next steps? And like all this stuff. And then I remember that day I get home and I just broke down, because I'm sitting at the front desk like this all day, like just trying to look like I'm not crying, but like she is. Like, she's very much crying because she just found out she has cancer. So trying not to look like I'm crying. I get home, I just drop my stuff and I start sobbing. And my sister's sitting on the couch, and I hadn't told her yet because she's a teacher. I don't know, I just didn't want to text. It's not really a text message thing, and she couldn't really talk on the phone. So I told her, and it was just like really emotional. And that was the first time I let everything go. I was like, I don't have enough money to have cancer. It sounds like a very expensive process. I don't have this. I don't have that. Like, and also like just tired of life really at that point. Because to give a little more backstory that I haven't really talked about too publicly, I mentioned I lost my job in August of 2023. But what I didn't mention is I also had to move out of my 1-bedroom apartment. That was like my first big girl apartment for myself. And like, I had to move in with my parents, and not just financially, there was other stuff going on, but realistically, financially, I couldn't sustain myself living in that apartment. And it was just a lot. So it was just like, I felt like God had taken my job away. God had which I had found a lot of identity in, which is probably why I took it away, because my identity should be found in him. That's a whole nother story. Check out my podcast if you're interested in more information. But I had taken away from that job. I lost my apartment, which I loved my apartment. It was my first time living alone. It was so fun. And I really enjoyed it. And I moved home, and I was like, what else? Like, why is this happening to me? And I was really, really upset. And I don't want to say I was mad at God, but I think I was just more situationally like, what else can happen to me? Like, I'm tired. And obviously I know now that so much worse can happen, and so much worse has happened to people. But in that time when you're going through it, you're just like, this is the worst thing. And it just keeps getting worse. And I had said when I turned 29, I was like, this is the year God's going to restore everything. And so to have this happen, I turned 29 in May. To have this happen in September, I was like, are we joking? Like, what's really good? What's going on? I just felt like really Really sad. And noticeably so, understandably so, she had cancer. She found out she had cancer. And so we get an appointment scheduled, and my sister and my mom are just like, that doesn't feel like the right appointment. Like, my sister reaches out to people. We find a different doctor. I don't even know. I never saw that doctor. But everything feels like it's starting to take a long time. So, like I said, September 26th, I was diagnosed. On October 11th, I had an MRI because the doctor I was going to was like, we need you to have an MRI of your breast before we can even come in. But it wasn't fun. MRIs are not like a good time. She's a little claustrophobic, so it wasn't cute, wasn't fun. So I go into the MRI and I'm like, this was terrible. The next day I feel like nauseous, like lightheaded. Right after it, I felt lightheaded. They're like, oh yeah, it's because of the magnets. The magnets? What? And mind you, I had a nose ring. She doesn't have it anymore, and that's also sad. But I had a nose ring, and I had to take my nose ring out, and then trying to get back in was a whole thing. And so there's just all these stressors being added on. And I'm just like, God, like, why is this happening to me? Like, but at the same time, I'm just pushing through it knowing that he's going to heal me. I'm praying with friends. I'm praying with family. I'm praying by myself that, like, I know I'm going to be healed. It's just going to take a process, and this process is going to be over soon in the name of Jesus. So I'm praying to get sooner appointments. I'm praying for everything to go faster because I can't take being in this state. And then I had a mammogram October 11th was the MRI. October 16th was the mammogram. Remember I told you I prayed for having my appointments closer together. God came through. So mammogram was on October 16th. It was painful. Wasn't that fun. Then they're like, oh, we also need to give you an ultrasound. Also an ultrasound. First of all, done that already. Second, nobody told me that was part of what's happening. So that day was really emotional because it was just so much like at the same time and it was taking so much longer. I was told it would take 30 minutes. It super did not. It took hours and I was just like freaking out. My mom had to come back with me at one point because it was crying. It was a whole thing. And one thing that's been the hardest thing for me in this is letting myself feel. I am so good at like, oh no, I'm fine. Oh no, I'm good. I don't want anyone to like, don't let them see your sweat. Honestly, it's a pride thing. Even making this video right now is hard for me because my pride is like, I don't want anyone to know what's wrong. Like, I just want to keep going. Like, I just want to keep exceeding, keep pushing forward. Like, but sometimes, babe, there's something very much happening to you. You need to stop. You need to take a second and breathe. And that is okay. So I reached the peak of, you know what? Y'all gonna see these emotions today during that appointment. Because I'm just like, y'all, I'm going through something. And it's okay to express that. And it's okay to feel that. So that was October 16th. October 17th, like I told y'all, I prayed for closer appointments. October 17th was my first surgical consultation. I'm thinking we've got the MRI done, we've got the ultrasound done, we've got the mammogram done. We're going to have everything we need to get a treatment plan on October 17th, period. We get in there. We very much do not have everything we need to get everything done by October 7th to get the treatment plan. So the first thing I found out is that the mass on my left breast is huge. Like it's giving 5 inches. It's like something like 12 centimeters. Whoa. And so they want to biopsy a different section of it just to make sure we're dealing with the same kind of cancer in that area. Then they were like, you have a lymph node that we need to biopsy. And I said, okay. Then they were like, we have 2 spots on the right breast we want to biopsy. And I said, this is getting out of hand. What's going on? Because I was told by AppleCare, y'all remember that, I was told that it would just be a spot on, like I just felt and believed, first of all, at the beginning of this, that I had just an intraductal papilloma. And now we're talking about cancer possibly in both breast and in a lymph node. That's nuts. And so if I had cancer if like the cancer situation was in the lymph node, it was going to have to be chemo and surgery. But the timing of all that would just be longer. If there's breast cancer in both, then it's a double mastectomy. It's a single mastectomy. Maybe it's just a lumpectomy. Like all these possibilities, but they wouldn't know what to do. until I got more biopsies done. I said, I don't want to do that, but fine. So first surgical consultation was October 17th. Also on that day, they had me do genetic testing because here's the crazy thing. I don't have history of breast cancer in my family. So to get breast cancer this young is like unheard of. Like everything I keep hearing in my appointments is, you're so young, you're so young, you're so young. I think from what I understand, most people get breast cancer 40s, 50s, like if they get it. God forbid you get it. But if you do, that's around the time it happened. So to get it at 29, nuts. And even crazier, I met a lady who, she got breast cancer at 24. Can you imagine? So check your boobs, ladies. Anyways, neither here nor there. So I also got genetic testing done during my first consultation because they were like, there's a possibility that you are the first one to start it. And when I tell you I got real biblical real quick in my head, I said, God, this will not plague a generation because of me. Also, the devil tried it. You gonna try to poison my family? Are you nuts? So she went into the war room praying because there is no way that I am going to be the one to start the cancer gene in my family. This will not be handed on to my children. This will not be handed on to my grandchildren. I absolutely refuse. So she got knuck if you buck in the spirit for like the 15th, 13th, a millionth time since finding out. And I was like, absolutely not. So took the little genetic test. And I don't remember the date when it came back, but praise God, it was negative. And I was just so happy because also if I was the one to start it, my sister could possibly be affected. And I was like, this won't take my sister. This won't mess with my sister. I will take it. Whatever needs to happen, I will take it. But it's not touching anyone else in my family. And it's not going to touch the generations to come. I actually refuse that. So I was so thankful when it came back negative. That was the first time where not even the first time. That was one of the times where I was like, God, okay, you're here. We're in this together. So I had a conversation with a friend who she's experiencing her own set of health issues. And just talking with her, she really encouraged me to pray and ask God specifically what is going to happen to me. I didn't want to ask because I was like, he got it. I don't really need to know. That sounds like his business. I'll go through the motions. And I was scared of what he would say. And he basically told me, you can keep your hair, but you're going to need surgery. And I said, ooh, don't love it, but all right, we'll keep going through. So I go through the biopsies, and the next biopsies didn't happen for like 2-3 weeks, November 5th. So November 5th was the second ultrasound biopsy set, which was 3 biopsies at one time. And during those 2 weeks, I threw like a football watch party. Like I was distracting myself from thinking about anything. And who knows if that's the best coping mechanism, but it is the coping mechanism that I chose. So I wasn't really thinking about it. Then November 5th came and I very much had to think about it. So I get 3 biopsies done, 1 on the left breast, 1 on the left lymph node, and 1 on the right. And that was fine. Everything was fine. And because I had done it before, it felt like, okay, cool. Then on November 13th, so now we're going week to week, which is nice. So on November 13th, I get an MRI biopsy. MRIs, I'm going to say right now, I hate MRIs. I don't like them. We're going to have to figure out another system for me in terms of going through it, because it might not be the last one. But don't love an MRI of any kind on any part of your body. And on your boobs, it's kind of terrible. Anyways, so didn't like it. So that was intense, and the healing from that one was harder, and it was just a lot. And so then that brings us to November 22nd, where I got my final surgical consultation. Not final, but like my treatment plan was figured out by that point. And on November 5th, that biopsy, like I didn't find out the results until literally like November 20th. And I said, no, it was November 21st. That's when I found out the results of that. And that was nerve-wracking because I was told it would take 3 to 5 days. So they explained to me why it took so long. And it was the whole like, we just wanted to be really sure about what we were diagnosing. All that good stuff. Love that. Love being thorough. However, it was tough to go through. On my side, I was like, this shot not supposed to take this long. Because the MRI biopsy took quite literally 1 day. And I was like, didn't y'all have to go deeper in for that one? Like what's really good? Anyways, so That was a whole thing. And through that process, first of all, they found, it was very good news. They found that the lymph node was benign. Everything in the right breast is benign. But they found the same kind of cancer in the left breast that they had found before, which is still good because we know what we're dealing with. So on November 22nd, I found out that it's DCIS. I don't fully understand what that means, but it does mean it's non-invasive cancer and that it is stage 0, which is nuts because I've told a friend and she was like, I've literally never heard of stage 0. So God is good. So it's stage 0, non-invasive. I don't need radiation. I don't need chemotherapy. God is so good. And I will say at the beginning, and it's almost like weird smiling and being happy about the fact that I just need surgery. But it's like, one, God told me. Like, I asked him and he told me. And he's a man of his word. He was like, babe, I already told you. Like, I got this. It's just surgery. And it's an intense surgery, and I'm still processing the fact that I need surgery and what kind of surgery I need. Not even comfortable saying it to y'all. Y'all find out soon. But I waited until I had processed everything that happened before I shared publicly, because I have been so quick in the past to just share, and like, I want to help people. I want people to grow from this. But what are we going to get from my vulnerability if I haven't even processed it yet? Like, I feel like I am not really pouring out. I'm more so just venting and dumping and trauma dumping. And that's not what I wanted to do. I wanted to be able to share this from a point of like, listen, when I first found this out, I said, God, why me? Quite literally, why me? And then I got to a point of, God, trust me to go through this. And not only that, it encouraged my faith, because I was just like, I have no other option but to trust God. Like, quite literally, I can't think of another way to go through this except for doing it with God. Because I'm not going to go through this hopeless. This is not going to be the end of my life. This is not going to be the end of my story. So yeah, that was the thing really. It was just, I knew I needed God, and I knew I needed his support. And I knew that he was going to heal me. How he was going to heal me, that was anybody's guess, and it kind of still is, because we still have a process to go through. But I just know that he's going to heal me. Yeah. And I just know that this is going to affect not just me, but generations to come in a positive way. Because the way I go through this and the way God has trusted me to go through this, it's just, he's going to get the glory out of all of it. And I said, God, if I have to go, oh, that's the other thing. I asked him, did I mess up? Did somewhere along the way, did I lose the plot? And now this is happening to me because I messed up. And he was like, no, this is just part of the plan. And I said, well, if this is part of the plan, then let's go. I'm not give you buck, because here's the thing. Somebody going to get free off this. Somebody who's going through this, they're going to have somebody to go through this with, because I've been through it. So I'm going to go through it with you. I'm going to help you through this. I'm going to pray for you through this. Like, if I have to go through this, the only way I'm going to go through it is with God getting the glory. And today I was sitting in church and I was like, you know what? This doesn't sound like the funnest thing. The surgery, I don't want to do it. I don't. I'm not even really loving what God told me which surgery I have to have. I'm not really into it. But I bet you one thing. I am going to see all the promises God has for me. This is not going to affect my future. This is just going to be a way for God to get the glory out of my future. But this is not going to derail any plans he has for me. This is not going to derail any promises he gave me. In the name of Jesus, I will get everything that God has promised me. And when I tell y'all this has threatened some of the things God has promised me, I can't really get specific right now, but this has like, there are going to be times in life where you go through something that threatens in your head what God has for you. But we have to stand firm and know that God is a man of his word. God made a promise. He's going to keep it. He's going to do just what he said he's going to do. No matter what you go through, no matter what he allows you to go through, no matter what Satan tries to throw your way, he is going to finish what he started. So that's how I feel with this whole situation. I'm knuck if you buck in the spirit. I got some people around me who are real knuck if you buck in the spirit too, because when my faith gets low, when I'm like, y'all, I'm just tired, they could pick it up and run. That's the other thing. Make sure you got you some praying friends. And if you have praying family, that's great. If you don't, get to a church. Find somebody to pray for you. Because when I tell you the community I have around me, before I'm even sharing this, because I just know people are so great around me and all that good stuff that there are going to be more people who want to pray for me. But the people who have been, I'm so thankful. I have been so bad at asking for help and accepting help until this. Like, this situation has really told me, like, girl, you don't have it all the time, and that's okay. Ask for help. Ask for, like, allow people to love on you. People just want to see, like, I, at one point, reached out to people to be like, hey, can you make sure my family's all right as I go through this? That's the only reason I told them. And they were like, yeah, we'll take care of them, but are you okay? And I was like, my God, today, people care. Like, it was an epiphany. Like, I was so worried about other people that I didn't even stop to think about myself. And again, like, I'm just so grateful for the people I have around me. And this is a new level of accepting love that I've never had to go through. And I'm just thankful that God has put the people around me who can do it well, you know? So honestly, making this video feels like such a release and a relief. I will also say, this is not really a thing. I have not been looking at the lens this entire time, so it's going to look like I'm looking off to the side. And that's fine, because I've been looking at myself in the viewfinder. You're not supposed to do that. But I'm not going to re-record this video because I think this went well. And I'm just so thankful that God allowed me to share. And I feel released making this video because I feel like I've been talking in code for 2 months. Like, telling people God's going to bring you through it. I've been making videos about God. And I haven't been saying what's going on because I just wasn't ready to share yet. But now that people know, the context behind that video, or those videos, like, I just feel like relieved that I can stop talking in code, because I love to share. That's one thing about me. So even God teach me, yeah, there's a time to share, but there's a time that you just can process it by yourself. There's a time that it's just between you and your community. It's not for everybody else yet. And when he told me to make this video, I was like, but I thought this was for us, but he was like, no, it's time to share. So I'm thankful I get to share. I'm relieved I've gotten to share. Keep praying for me. If this is happening, if you're going through something similar, please message me. Please DM me. If this spoke to you in any way, please message me. Please DM me. I would love to chat. I'd love to pray for you if you have something to pray about. But yeah, so more videos to come. I have 2 podcasts. One is a podcast that I co-host with my friend Stella, and she's been so supportive through this, and I took a break from it. Going to be breaks in and out, definitely because of this, but I'll definitely be talking more about this in different contexts on there at some point. And I have my own podcast that I do, and I'll definitely be talking about it there. I wrote a whole episode about, like, suffering, and I was like, God, I feel like I'm holding in a sneeze if I try to do this episode, and I haven't talked about what's happening with me. I haven't shared what's happening with me. So that will be out soon, hopefully. But just praying. Trying to see if I missed anything. But yeah, just in conclusion, when I am healed and as I'm on my way to healing physically, I'm just not going to stop talking about Jesus. This will not shut me up. And I'm not going to keep going after all he's called me to. This may, it may need to take a break at points, but just going to keep moving forward. And the fact that patience, and sometimes even called long suffering, depending on the translation, is literally a fruit of the Spirit. That's what I feel right now, is patience. I'll put, I have a playlist I've been listening to when I go through moments of like, God, I just need you right now. I need a worship moment. I'll put my playlist below. It's called Road to Victory. I'll share some scriptures that I've been hiding in my heart, for lack of a better term. That is the best way to put it. Like when I go into doctor's meetings, I'll be like, perfect peace. Or when I go into just thinking negatively, I'll be like, after you've suffered a little while, you'll see God's eternal glory, all that good stuff. So I'll share all those resources. Love you. Appreciate you for watching. And yeah, bye.